I think it's a little bit hard to be an indie game developer in Taiwan because, there's a really small market of the indie game market in Taiwan. So we have to spend a lot of efforts to grab players.
Main thing is actually the getting feedback, from users. In Korea, is indie development community is quite small.
Well, it's really easy to get in, but difficult to survive. Generally, like nowadays developing a game, it's easy, it's a creative job, but to be able to run a business, it has a lot of tricks. I'll tell people like, okay, everyone can develop a game, but can you sell a game? That's the key to survive.
The indie game community are mainly based more in Western, like the US and the Europe. But here in Indonesia, the indie game industry is not that mature enough. I mean, it's growing, slowly progressing, but it's still not as mature as the Western. So of course, we have like some troubles, like the accessibility to information and to game events and stuff like that.
If you put your game on Steam, like no one gonna view you as indie, so give you like special offer or like give you like special attention. So I guess like the biggest challenge is that more and more like bigger developers or like even AAA companies come into the market, and like how as an indie studio with less resources gonna succeed. That's gonna be a big question and challenge for like all indie developers worldwide. For us as an indie, we start small as a studio, right? We are pretty much like a startup. Typically, it's a lot of resource constraints, right? Both from the talent side to financing. So I think we have to think out the box how we work around. We have to train young talents, engage with schools, scout for talents who are willing to take on this risk with us.
Because indie games players in Taiwan are not quite enough, so we want to publish our games to international. But sometimes we are facing the problem that maybe we need some publisher or medias. We're trying to making our games that are not only for Chinese or Mandarin players.
It's also a little bit hard to get funding in Taiwan. When we need to find any funding, we have to go to other countries, so it's not that easy. So I think in Singapore, we are in a very unique position being like a very well-developed country. While there's a lot of funding in terms of investments in general, but directly into games perhaps is not as well understood.
We are fortunate enough to actually be able to fund our own tickets. To travel around, to actually get such connections. You would definitely be missing out on trying to get such additional fundings from the game shows because they are not able to meet investors, meet publishers, and the likes.
A lot of smaller indies grew in recent years. Say like in Taipei Game Show, there's one section for indie developer program where they help kickstart like smaller indies with like funds. So there's great resources right now, helping the new guys, the entry level guys to come into the market and try out new stuff.
There's not a lot of fundings or institutional grants we can actually access if we are just doing, say, game development in Singapore. However, there are methods and I would say ways as a startup we could access such said fundings, because our government do actually support companies to actually take in fresher people for not only the workforce but also to train them.
I think the government also plays a role in the indie game industry back in Indonesia, where they support us through some game events. So they basically have like this Indonesian Game Association where they kind of support us and connect us with the government.
For Singapore, I mean, we've definitely received some aid before, but we've never gotten like production funding. Unlike, say, we know Malaysia does it, Australia does it. I think what I'd like to see is not necessarily support for games as a money-making vehicle, but support for games as an art form. I mean, there's support for startups everywhere, right? That's not necessarily hard to find. But support for games as an art form is something that's a little bit rarer worldwide, I would say.
My advice, okay, that's kind of hard. You gotta realize, no matter where you are, you're competing on a global scale. You know, tens and thousands of games coming out each year. Like, how are you gonna make yourself shine? If you don't get that sorted out, it's really hard. When you're facing the real market, people gonna see your game and play your game. If it doesn't, intrigue them, it doesn't interest them, it's not gonna sell, and your company won't last.
I think the most important thing of is you have to be you have to have a lot of passion in the indie game. You really need to be a player so that you will be happy when you're doing this like a very tough work.
Review yourself more. You know, nowadays it's not a good day to hide your game for like 3 years and just suddenly expecting to have a good sale. Go to events and for example, like Taipei Game Show, and talk to experienced developers.
Maybe don't quit your day job just yet. Do it on the side. And I think if you can't do it on the side, maybe don't do it full time. Especially if you have a team, right? You're the lead, you'll be supporting people. And then beyond that, yes, be brave and then stick with it and finish it. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough.
The most common mistake I see is that often there's a lot of indie developers messed up the project management. There's a timeline, you need to set a deadline. You don't have to 100% follow it, but there needs to be a deadline for yourself to say, okay, I need to finish this much of the work before this date. Otherwise, it'll just go forever. And I've never seen a game which has not been delayed, but you need to have a deadline, you need to have it in mind, you need to know that your time is your budget.
I think maybe hustle, and you have to prepare your enthusiasm.
I think try and see it from the other POV. This goes for everything, right? From publishers, what are they looking for? What makes your game stand out? From funders, investment, etc. How's the game going to make money? What kind of returns are there?
Never stop. Try harder. No matter how much problem you face it, how much a long trip, a long time.
I think it's important to really dream big and put your heart all out there. And then, you got to build fast, right? You got to have the right connections and connect with as much people as you can. And I think that's one of the best things about the indie community scene is the community, right? It's the people that just connects with one another, and pretty much feel like this industry is like a small family, right, in a way.
Start small. Like, everybody starts somewhere, but if you're too idealistic with your own ideas, you're too afraid or too scared to start something, that you won't be getting anywhere. Like, just start small, fail fast, fail forward.
If you want to develop your game, just start and give it a try. That is most all you need, I think.